then, welcome to the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. My name is Harry Dom. The Grand Slam is done and dusted as we edge towards the World Championships at Alexandra Palace. Luke Littler is officially the world number one. Joining me now to look back on all of the action is the Asset, talkSPORT commentator and former pro, Paul Nicholson. Paul, straight into it then. Luke Littler, world number one. Back-to-back Grand Slam champion. I mean, we know the age. We don't need to bring it up. We don't need to ask stupid questions of how good is Luke Littler. We all know how good Luke Littler is. That last night was a proper battle, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I think when you have someone who has done what he's done, he needs to be pushed. And I think people have pushed him to a level that maybe we're starting to see the best of him. And it's not just in the Grand Slam of darts either. It's through some defeats over the summer and being pushed at the World Match Play as well, because when you go 5-0 down after the first session at the World Match Play, sometimes you can panic. But he just doesn't panic, and he's now transcribing that into other tournaments. We saw it with Josh Rock in the semi-finals. We've seen it with other people who've put themselves in great positions against him, but it seems like long format is his biggest strength, which is very ominous considering what's just around the corner.
You can't let him. It's getting to this like stupid point now. You can't let him get down to any finish at all. And we've seen it a few times already in the past. I know Humphries in that first session, there was definitely two legs in that first session that Humphries should have won and messed about on his doubles. But let's look at the 167 and the 160. I mean, you played the game and you would know this, and you know I've only played at an amateur level, but you go, this person might take it out. This person might hit something big and lay up to leave, I don't know, tops or a 32 or a one dart finish. No, with Luke Littler and you're watching it, you think he will take it out. And apart from like prime MVG, I don't know if you've ever seen it or felt it, and you could obviously put Taylor in there, of course, but when he has these big numbers, it's not a case of he might. I'm always thinking he will check that out.
We've said for many years that shots like 167 are 3% shots. So 3 times out of 100, you're going to take it out if you're a world-class player. It's like holding a long putt from 60 feet like JJ Spawn did to win the US Open at Oakmont. He'd probably hold that putt 2-3 times out of 100. But with Littler, what we're seeing now is a bigger likelihood. We're probably talking about somewhere near 10%. He feels that confident on those shots. And we're starting to see something different from his opponents as well, especially from the likes of Rock and from, you know, people like Danny Noppert, who might start to leave a double instead of taking a ball when an opponent's on 160 or 167 or something like that. But I saw in Josh Rock's eyes the other night that he didn't even think about laying up for shots where he's got the ball. He's going to go for the shot. Let's say 84, single 20, 14. He's going for the ball if Littler's on 160. Some other people in previous years have talked about statistical analysis where you're more likely to win the leg if you lay up because your opponent's not going to take it out. People aren't taking that risk against Luke because he's so good at finishing legs off, no matter what the number.
Have you ever seen the like? It's someone being that confident.
I am very fortunate to have been bridging both the Taylor and MVG era. I've seen Phil at his best, and it made you gasp. I've seen Michael at his ruthless best, and he would just sweep you aside. But even when Michael was at his peak and when Phil was at his peak, I didn't see this kind of casual exuberance from a player. I saw someone who would walk into a room and demand respect. Littler walks in, he's not really bothered if you give him respect because he feels like he's going to take you out no matter what. So it's a very different attitude. He does respect people, and I know he respects the likes of Humphries and Noppert and Josh Rock. But he really doesn't care about the result. He doesn't care about what you get as long as he gets what he wants. And that kind of ruthlessness is something we can all learn from in sport.
How long do you reckon he's going to be world number one for if you had to make a prediction? Because, you know, Luke Humphries goes off the back and speaking to Sky, it could only be 7 weeks because I'm going to win the Worlds. I'm going to win the Worlds. Which was obviously, didn't really expect that from Luke Humphries, and I love the dog in him, the fight and determination. But could you see this being sort of like a 5-year world number one or beyond?
The potential for it is definitely there. I think if he stays hungry and he manages his calendar properly, there's no reason why Littler can't stay at the top of the rankings for as long as MVG did between 2014 and 2021. It took a ridiculous set of circumstances to take Michael off the top. I mean, he made the quarterfinals of the 2021 championship, losing to Dave Chisnell, and then Price wins the tournament and leapfrogs him. But I love what Humphrey said, because not only does he want to get that number one ranking back because he's made it his own over the last couple of years, but he wants to be the first £1 million man. He doesn't want Littler to have that tag. He wants to be the person who cashes that big check and gets that world number one spot back. And whenever Humphries has got additional motivation, he doesn't necessarily work harder. He'll just try and find another little something to give him that spark that he needs to take out his biggest rival. And Littler is firmly now his biggest rival after the last few years where he's toppled a few other great players to become the world number one, like Peter Wright and Gezi Price and MVG and even some others. But Littler is the person who's going to have the poster on the wall, and when he practices, he's going to say to himself, you're the person I need to get through now. So this is the rivalry for the 2020s now that it's no longer MVG Wright.
People always ask me, obviously, and I think the casual darts fans always ask this question as well, of I kind of hate speaking about it. Luke, how long will Luke Littler play for? Will he do 5 years and stop? After what I saw last night, I've got a genuine feeling now that Luke Littler, and I know Taylor's on 16, Luke Littler's on 1. I genuinely feel that Littler is going to do everything in his power, no matter how many years it's going to take, to chase down Phil Taylor. And that could be, we could look back on this in 20 years' time, and I could be wrong, but I genuinely feel, watching everything, Pro Tours, Europeans, World Series, every major, being around Luke Littler, I think he's going to surpass him.
Interesting thought.
I genuinely do. I've just got such a feeling about him that I feel like he's just going to keep going and he's going to make it harder, and everyone's just going to try and up their game even more. That he's obviously already taken the sport to another level. I genuinely think he's going to overtake Phil Taylor. Right,
let's get into this then. So in order for him to get 17 world titles, he's going to have to win 16 more, and he's not going to win every final he makes, because Taylor didn't.
Yeah.
And, people's ratio of winning finals, if you can do 50-50, that's amazing. I mean, look at someone like Gary Anderson. He's been in multiple finals. He hasn't won them all. But let's say he's going to make 20 world finals. Is he going to win 16 more? We don't know what's around the corner. I mean, you've got young players coming through now at a rate of knots. You've got young Mitchell Lorry, who is, he takes confidence to another level. We've got all sorts of other younger talent. And quite frankly, 5 years ago, nobody knew the name Luke Littler apart from his academy in St. Helens. So 5 years ago, we were saying Michael van Gerwen's going to be the best player ever. Now we're saying that MVG's not going to surpass anything that Phil does, as in world titles. So 5 years is a long time in sport. So I'll be really interested to see where we stand by the 2030 championship and who's going to win that title and where we stand. But I can understand why people would think it now, but I'm a little bit more sceptical, because who knows? He might make so much money in the next 5 years and become such a big celebrity, he might retire in 5 years.
That's true. I've just got a feeling, mate. I know it's obviously. I know it's obviously a boring thing to say, and that's such pub chat and sort of like, quite naive sort of darts analysis. But I've just got a feeling that what was Taylor, like 157 PDC World TV titles, or is it collectively? I've just got a feeling like I know we're witnessing something truly special at the moment. This is a real sort of like golden era that we're living through.
I think people tend to forget as well that the amount of money that Phil was making when he was winning world titles in the 90s, it's not retirement money. This was keeping life going money. I think it's one of the reasons why some of the players thought it was a bit weird that Phil bought a Bentley once. And you think, well, hang on a minute, you're not making that much money. But if you look at the amount of money that he's made, he's been surpassed by Michael van Gerwen, and he's only won 3. So I think money does talk. If the money was the same and Littler was of the same talent, he might go on to win 16, 17 to 20 world titles. But I think if he were to go on to win 5, because even Humphries has said that's the number he wants.
Yeah.
If Littler gets 5, based on what we know, that's £4.5 million just for one tournament. And that's not including the ones he doesn't win. So money will talk, hunger will talk, but it's a nice thing to think that someone could potentially have a crack at Phil's record.
Oh, it'd be a joke, like in the fact that we never thought this was going to happen. But obviously he's only one in, and we've got the Worlds coming up next month. Just before we finish up, mate, you mentioned obviously Luke Humphries' comments to Sky off the back of the loss. 7 weeks, I'll be world number 1 again if he gets that £1 million prize fund at Alexandra Palace. I've always got bias over Luke coming from the same town as him, and I always want Luke Humphries to win. But was he a bit naive in the sense of him saying that he's going to win the World Championships because we don't know who's going to get drawn against in the first round? And like we already know, anything can happen in darts. He could draw against, I don't know, Paolo the Breeder in the first round, and Paolo the Breeder could do an absolute number on him next month at Alexandra Palace. But it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? You love the fighting talk, but then it could come back to bite him, couldn't it?
Fighting talk can backfire. I once said to Sky Sports that I would win 2 world titles. I only got to the quarterfinals once, so that backfired massively. But Luke Humphries is a very different case. I think if you look at the way he's been playing and the way he's been trending over the last few weeks, his Grand Slam play, even when he wasn't 100%, was amazing. And if you look at the way that Josh Rock played and the way that some other people have played without victories, we can't take them out of the equation. So Noppert's played amazingly this year but hasn't won. Rock has played sensationally this season and probably having the best his career year. But I like the way that Humphries is thinking, because motivation has been a topic through the Grand Slam. He's talked about maybe not doing the floor next year. His motivation is not about 2026. It's about that tournament in Alexandra Palace. And he wants to get that second world title. He wants to be the first £1 million man. And motivation is a very, very big thing. And the way he works, he's really, really intelligent. So he will leave no stone unturned and make sure that everything is ripe for a big run. And I've got no doubt in my mind that he's going to make it a New Year darts. After that, people will just have to stay tuned.
What do you think about him, dropping out of potential Pro Tours? Was it 33, 34 days across, obviously, like Hildesheimer and also in Leicester and whatnot? Because I know a lot of old people, if you speak to Colin Lloyd always said, I respected the tour so much and I turned it to every single one, no matter where it was. But the players are sort of in a privileged position now, where if you come to sort of like major season, you're always going to be in, say, the match play going off the 16 in the world rankings and 16 off the Pro Tour. Do you think that's fair enough to him because he has the luxury of being inside the top 5? And, it's weird to say now that he's not world number 1, but is he got to take advantage of that luxury so he can spend more time with the family?
100%. You look at some of the stories from yesteryear, people who didn't make weddings, birthdays, christenings, all this kind of stuff, and it happens in sport. It's not just darts, it's industry wide. And you have to make sacrifices for sport, but you've got to be creative, especially when there's so many tournaments. This is where the PDC have been really clever, because they've got so many tournaments now, European Tour events, floor events, Premier events, and the culmination of the World Championship. If you are highly ranked and you have a young family and you're in the Premier League, which is, I think, one of the biggest things about this, he didn't play that many this year anyway. And if you've got events in the Netherlands, in Germany, and the UK, and you live in Cheshire, like Luke does, why don't you just cherry pick the Wigan ones? And if you need and want to go to something in, say, Milton Keynes, which isn't too far, or possibly Leicester. You always have that choice. At this point in time at the end of the season, Luke's probably knackered, saying, do you know what? The floor's at the back of my mind. I'm not doing that next year. And it can be seen as a flippant comment. But I think what he's trying to say is that cherry picking for the top dogs is a necessity now. But don't go to Hildesheim if it doesn't work for Premier League players. Don't go to the Netherlands in the middle of a Premier League campaign if it doesn't work for you. But if you live spitting distance from Wigan, do you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. Make the most of that one. And at the end of the day, he's won the Players' Championship twice. So what's he got to prove by going to Minehead again? He has options, and this is the luxury based on what he's already achieved.
Paul Nicholson, thank you very much. Ladies and gents, please remember, if you're new here, to subscribe to the channel just down below. We will have every single live game from Alexandra Palace on the talkSPORT radio. I mean, the draw is next week. I can't believe it's coming around again. It's going to be an incredible couple of months. And also, I've got a video of Luke Humphries coming out tomorrow. So please remember, comment, like, subscribe. You know what to do in a bit.